fight. We don't have to kill. Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill. No, we don't have to fuss, no.
Yeah, so I guess I should actually introduce the episode, the inaugural episode. The working title, I haven't locked down the Instagram and Facebook yet, but I think they're available. It's going to be Just Chill with Oliver George, or Just Chill Podcast.
Just Chill Podcast.
That's in reference to a song I did actually a few years ago. It was a non-comedy song. It was just a song about like peace and how people should get along and stop being dicks to each other, basically.
Sure.
But I wrote it and recorded it and got it on Live 88.5 in the span of 3 weeks.
Wow, good
It was
for
just
you.
like, had an idea and got it out there, so.
You're on the charts.
No, they played it like 3 times at like 10:30 at night, but
Yeah.
you know, it's nice to have that like little reference nod to my thing. And
Sure.
Just chill is what I usually want to do with my my guests anyway, so.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so man, I saw you at Just for Laughs a couple of weeks ago and you killed it.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Thank
and then
you.
I was super excited for you because who was watching your set? None other than
Nick Kroll.
That must have been kind of cool, right?
You know, it's so funny. People were like tripping backstage. I didn't really notice that he was there. When I was on stage, I was probably about halfway through my set and I was kind of just, you know, scanning the room and I thought, wow, like that dude really looks like Nick Kroll. And
Little did you know.
After I got off stage, which is probably better because like people were like, what the fuck? Like people were like,
You must have been terrified. Like, that's what I was going to ask. If you had
were
known,
intimidated,
would it
yeah.
have phased you, do you think?
honestly, not really.
No.
Just because I am very good at staying like mentally focused on what I have to do. Like I don't really get thrown very easily. Like I can you know, with like walk and chew gum at the same time. Like I can think about something like while I'm in autopilot speaking.
Multitasking, sort of like.
Yeah. I don't really think that throws me off too much. What does throw me off sometimes is like whenever I have to tell somebody to, you know, to shut up in the audience.
I saw you do that last night.
Like last night.
That was swift, though. You got a like a round of applause for it. So.
And it's funny. Mitch, the bartender last night, was like, "Hey, so I noticed that like you were being like really nice to that heckler, so like that's different for you." I was like,
Why you normally just trash them hard?
not like trash them, but like I definitely am like, hey, like shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's almost easier to just be blunt like that, right?
Yeah.
Just shut it down quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that she was in the front row, and I was like, girl, like, why would you sit in the front row and
Right.
just talk? Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
And
It's always the one in the front row from what I've seen, though, or very often.
usually
They sit down there thinking it's going to be about them or something.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's always a white girl. And every time. And whenever I sometimes we'll have to stop to be like, hey, like, shut up.
Yeah.
I'll sometimes lose my place. But other than that, no. If somebody's in the audience, it doesn't really trip me out too hard. What will kind of trip me out is like if it's a person that I really don't like. That I know, like let's say like an ex or somebody that I've recently had a fight with or something like that, and they're in the audience, like that will trip me out.
That's going to take your brain focus away from what you need to be doing.
Yeah. But like other comics and stuff like that, no, I mean, I don't, maybe it should, but no, it doesn't really trip me out. A lot of the comics though in the back, I'm not going to name names, but during my taping, when they found out that he was there, they were very upset and they were worried that it would distract them. And there was one comic that just like really got in their own head and like,
I mean, it seems like something you're going to have to deal with if you succeed in the way that you, I would think, want to when you're aspiring to be a comedian. You're going to, isn't that what you hope for? That like, you know?
Yeah, but also like, I think that's kind of hostile, like on Nick Kroll's part to be like sitting so close to the front.
Yeah.
And
well, it was a small room in his defense, I guess, but I know what you're saying. Like, you know who you are if you're Nick Kroll at Just for Laughs. Like, and there's a lot of, it's a showcase with more up and comers. They're going to be very intimidated. I understand what you're saying.
I know that, like, I personally, when I'm at open mics, when I'm at, so in Toronto, they have, it's called Queer and Present Danger. It's the only LGBTQ open mic in the country that was, founded by Shanti Marostica.
Okay.
And whenever I'm in that space and I'm in that room, I don't sit in the audience and I don't make eye contact with the kids because I know that if I do, they'll find it very intimidating and it bugs them. Yeah. And I get that. I'm
You could be the reason someone gets cold feet and like
Sure.
doesn't try it, you know?
Sure. Like you have to, I'm at a safe distance. I'm always like, I'm sitting behind the bar or, I'm in the back.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like a bit of an unspoken rule with comics where it's like, hey, like don't sit in the front row or sit close to the front because it is a little distracting if you meet their eyes because I mean, sure, you're kind of projecting your own security, but it's a little hostile to like sit.
Yeah, I heard about someone, and I'm not going to name names, but I heard, and this is, again, something I heard, so maybe it's not even true, but someone that was sitting, a comic who was sitting front row during competitions and like staring at the competition. And just trying to intimidate them.
That person sounds like garbage, but yeah,
right?
Who?
No. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it's true. It's just something that I heard, and it sounded pretty douchey, so.
I feel like I know who you're talking about. It's
we'll see. There's no way I'm saying that.
We'll put in our bets now.
Yeah.
But but I mean, honestly, oh God,
that was just the vape. Sorry, I turned on the vape.
No, but honestly, him being in the audience didn't distract me or throw me. I kind of thought, oh, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then other people in the back.
Well, you were also meeting other like celebs all weekend, I'm assuming. I saw pics of you with like Wanda Sykes and a couple other heavy hitters.
That is so funny. That is the one interaction that everybody keeps asking me about. And it's just really funny because that was, and I completely get this. I'm not complaining, but I completely understand where she was coming from. The most reluctant selfie. I barely spoke 2 words to her. And she kind of came into the green room. And I mean, I get it. She's a big star. Like, it's like she doesn't want to come and hang out with the loser comics in the back. Like, I get it. Her security came in and just was like, yeah, like, don't go into the green room. So then she sat at the back of the room instead of coming into the green room. Totally get it. But the thing is that in order to get onto the stage for that show, you have to go through the green room. So she kind of popped in before she went up on stage and she was like, hello, very polite. And I was like, oh, hi. She was on the way to the stage. I couldn't be like, I'm Kyle. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And then I said, good luck. Really looking forward to seeing your set. And then I just watched her set from the green room. And then when she came back off stage, I was like, I really wanted a picture with her. And she was just bolting. And I just was like, I really shouldn't have.
Just kind of grabbed her.
I just was like, oh, that was so funny. Would it be okay if I were to take a super quick photo with you? And then she stopped and she like had 1 foot out the door and she looked at me and she just kind of was like, sure. Yeah. And I could tell that she was like hated me and I should have just taken the hint, but I just ran over really quickly. I took like the fastest, like first selfie, like as fast as I could. And I was just like, I didn't even care what it looked like. I was like, okay, thanks. And then that was it.
But that's a weird experience. I know what you mean. And it's hard because then you're like second guessing everything. Like, maybe you never know what's going on in that person's life. Like, maybe they have diarrhea. Who knows?
Sure,
like, it could be anything. I'm saying that 100%. As an extreme example, but like, it could be anything. So I try to think about that because I met a couple people there too, and some gave me vibes where I was kind of like, oh, okay. And I'm no one. Like, I'm not even in the showcase. I was just there watching comedy, But we smoked Jeff Ross on a joint, and he was cool, but he seemed really like low energy, not super happy to meet us. And why would he be, I guess? But I'm sharing my drugs with you. Like,
sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I opened for Jeff Ross a few years ago and he was, okay. The more and more that I do comedy and the more opportunities that I have and stuff like that, and the more that you're on the road all the time and you're constantly talking to fans or talking to audience members and stuff like that, it is so emotionally and mentally draining.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Sometimes when I see these Americans and these like comedy celebrities, when I work with them or if I've seen them and stuff like that, and at first like my inner Canadian is like, wow, like this person's an asshole. Like, wow, this person's really mean. Mm-hmm. But the more that I've been doing comedy and the longer that I'm on the road for and the more that I have to talk to audience members after shows and I'm trying to sell things and you have to do the photos and then people... It just
can relate more.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I get it. You have to start setting boundaries at one point where you're just like, I am mentally giving so much of myself to you kind of thing. And it's exhausting. and you as a human being, like
When's
I
it
have
gonna
a
be my
limit.
time?
Exactly,
Yeah. And that's fair. That's human. You need
totally.
take reflection time and just
Totally.
time to chill out. Yeah.
I feel like I'm starting to sort of understand that a little bit more. I also do think though that like if you do work in the public eye in some capacity, you do owe a little bit to the public. You
To
do
at least
owe a
not
little
be a
bit
complete piece of shit.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a level you can pass where it's like, okay, I don't care how bad your day is.
Yeah.
Like this is the gig you should have known somewhat
Yeah.
what you're getting into, and if you're getting harassed to that level, it's because you're doing really, really well.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of things to kind of be grateful for, but I don't know. It's one of those things that's easier said than done until you've experienced it yourself. And I always try to. I don't know. It's weird because I try to imagine like, okay, let's say you're Robert Downey Jr. or something like that.
Sure.
I literally think in my head that it would be fun to just be like, I can do the littlest thing and blow someone's fucking mind and make their whole year. Sure. You know, just like come and take a picture or just be like, hey, do you guys want to have a coffee? Or like what? I would do weird shit like that.
Yeah.
I like to think that I would be like a Bill Murray weirdo who would like
Yeah.
steal a piece of your pizza or whatever, like that kind of shit. But
Yeah.
who knows until you're there, right? Like,
Well, I was in Los Angeles, not for comedy. I was just there for a vacation, and I'd never been. And I was in a Starbucks, and I saw Diane Keaton, and I was like, oh, and she was standing right next to me, and I did not say a word to this bitch because I cannot fucking stand Diane Keaton. I cannot stand her movies. I cannot stand her as an actress. And so I mean, she's a very talented person. She's a very talented actress, but it's just the fact that, you know, imagine if you were that Bill Murray person and you did take the piece of pizza.
and someone's like, I hate you.
I'd be like, like if this bitch took my coffee, I'd be like, I fucking hate you, like fucking Diane Keaton. But no, she was very nice, and she was taking pictures with everybody, and she, I'm sure a very lovely person, but I'm not.
She's one of those people that I know like her name, and I could probably pick her face out in a lineup or whatever, but I'm not familiar with her work in a big way.
She was in The Godfather. She was in Annie Hall, directed by Woody Allen.
Oh yeah,
she
was like Woody Allen's kind of muse for a while, or no?
No, she was in.
My dad would know this. Yeah.
Yeah, she was in Something's Gotta Give with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. That was actually pretty good. Yeah.
She was in Marvin's Room with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
She was in a lot.
She's won Oscars or no? I think
She was in First Wives Club. I mean, I don't think that you would know that movie, but
hey man,
yeah.
No, don't assume. I don't know. I've heard of it, but I don't know. I've definitely never seen it.
Sure. She's a big Hollywood star, and honestly, she was very nice and taking photos with people, and she's
Who's
very nice
out of
person.
celebrities that you've met or comics or whatever, who's like the favorite experience that you've ever had, or who was the nicest? Like,
Joe Coy was.
I've never heard of him.
So,
Or she,
oh,
he
you,
or she?
you definitely. If you saw a picture of Joe Coy, you'd know Joe
Okay.
Coy. He is kind of peaking right now. Like his career is kind of exploding right now.
Okay.
He is when I met him, he was very nice. He gave me a hug. He was like, hey, like where are you guys ending up tonight? Are you going to this party? Like maybe I'll see you there, kind of thing. Jeff Ross smoked me. He gave me some weed, and we talked about, because there was a Quentin Tarantino roast that never aired, so I like wanted to ask him about it.
Yeah.
And I asked him about some of the jokes, and I think he told me some of the jokes. Like I can't remember them.
But he was cool when you hung out with him, though.
He was bored and uncomfortable because I didn't know what to say to him because he was with one of his friends, and
Well, and he's like the roast master. You assume like, what if
Yeah.
he's like that in real life or whatever? You know, what if he burns you?
And I just kind of was like awkwardly standing in the corner, like, I want a local competition to be here. Like I was just that nerdy Canadian.
That's kind of what I did. Like I asked him if he wanted to smoke, and then I right away. That's probably why he gave a weird energy. I was like, "Oh, yo, I'm a comic. Like, can I tell you a joke?"
Yeah. Oh, you know what? No, you know who is the nicest fucking comedian I've ever met that was like pretty famous? Alonzo Bowden.
Oh, really? Yeah, we saw him when we were in. He was on the Pete Holmes podcast we watched.
He is so
He seems very chill and mellow.
Yes, and he was so nice when I met him. I wasn't at Just for Laughs performing. I was at Just for Laughs as an audience member in 2014. I just wanted to go.
Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah.
Sure. And I was in a full blackout, and I was like, you were on the All-Star show tonight. And I was like, oh, you're so funny. And then he just like got to know us. He got to like, he was like, where are you from? What's your name? Like, do you want a drink? Like, he just was
Oh, nice.
really,
He was actually down to chill and hang out.
Beth Stelling, really cool.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a name I've heard, but again, I don't think I've heard any of her
she's
stuff.
so. I love Beth. She's
Send me
so-
some names of stuff too, like
Yeah.
up and comers.
John Doerr, super
John Doerr, I fucking
chill,
love.
super nice. Love him.
John Doerr is amazing.
Yeah.
I think his brand of comedy is so bizarre and
Yeah.
funny. I watched him at Yucks once where he came out and, you know, like people were clapping, kind of giving already a standing ovation just for him coming out because it was fans of his show and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah.
And he kind of was trying to quiet the crowd. He said, "All right, okay." And he said those two words repeatedly in different tones for like 10 minutes and it killed and it went away and then it came back around and it was he'd be like, "Okay, all right." You know, okay, all right. Like he just kept switching up. It was the weirdest bit I've ever seen, and it destroyed.
Of course.
I don't know. He's just
He's kind of an alt comic, and I love that about him. To be honest with you, I feel like most of the interactions that I've had with most comics have been positive. I would say that it's easier for me to recall the negative diva moments that I've had with a handful of comics.
Those who shall not be named.
Yeah, those who shall not be named.
Yeah, well, honestly, there are a lot of super supportive people in comedy. I'd say, I don't know what the percentage is. There's a split, but I've met a lot of people like you. You're a perfect example of someone like, I don't even really fucking know you that well. You've just always been nice to me, and whenever I tried to reach out, you were like super friendly, and you know what I mean? You didn't have to come on here. We were not even on the internet yet, and you're still willing to lend your time, so I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I mean, I don't know. I just like, I don't think of myself as like anything, and I think that anybody that really does, it's like, okay, like you need to reevaluate your situation because it's just jokes. Like it's just comedy. And that's the thing. I mean, like, listen, I mean, I've had moments, of course, where like I'm like, oh fuck yeah, like I'm the fucking shit, and then like the next day I'm like, I hate myself, I'm the worst, why I'm a fraud, like all that 100%, stuff, back and forth, and but you know, I don't know, I just feel like in general, people in comedy, everybody talks shit. Like, I would be lying if I said I've never talked shit before.
There's a gossip sort of rumor mill, yeah.
And the thing is we all kind of get off on that. I feel like I'm a little bit more honest about it, and it's gotten me in trouble because like people will ask me and I'll be like I'm not gonna lie to your face. Like I'll be like, yeah, you know what, man, like I did say that, and like I was just saying that because I was just running my mouth and like I was drunk or whatever. And then the other people that were involved like won't admit it, and then I'm the one.
You don't do the two-faced thing though.
Oh God, no. No.
I respect the shit out of that.
If you ask me a question, I will answer that question for you.
Oh yeah, I'm extremely honest in the same way. Like I have pretty bad anxiety a lot of the time, and I find that secrets and guilt give me so much anxiety.
Same.
To the point where I'm always just like, let's just fucking deal with this. Whatever it is, it's gonna be easier if we just talk about it and be honest and
totally.
shit. You know?
I'm the exact same way.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna ask, like, how did you start in comedy, or when, or?
So in September, this September 3rd, it'll be 7 years.
Oh shit.
And I started comedy.
So you would have been what, 23?
I was 23.
Sorry, you said you were 30 in your set last night.
Yeah.
I did the math.
I started when I was 23. When I was 21, I was working at an art gallery, and I met these two comics from Toronto, and they popped in, and we just got to chatting, and they were like, "Oh, we're comedians," and I just kind of thought, oh, like you can do that? Yeah. Like I was like, I thought that you had to be like famous to be a comedian. Like I was stupid. Like I didn't understand.
Get it. Like there's a club, you got to get a membership card or something.
Yeah, I didn't understand. And then I was like, oh, so that kind of planted the seed a little bit. And then I was like, I actually think I could do that. And then a friend of mine, Emma, she just signed me up to perform in this conversation. She was there. She signed me up to perform at the Monday Absolute Comedy Night.
Okay,
yeah. That was run by Josh Williams.
Oh, nice. He's awesome.
And that's kind of how I started. My friend just sort of signed me up, and that was it. That's
honestly similar to me. Like, not that I'm anywhere near the level you are with my comedy quite at this moment, but I've had my moments, and I feel like that was the same thing. I started going to a lot of open mics just to watch them. And I would see enough people where I was like, I could do better than that.
Sure.
Not to be a dick or whatever, because there was plenty of people where I was like, I can't do that.
Sure.
But I thought enough that, like, that's why I always tell people if they're like, oh, I kind of want to do comedy, I say, go to like an amateur night.
Yeah.
And you'll see a couple people bomb or a couple people just kind of do so-so, and it'll make you feel like, all right, The playing field's a little more level. Like, you know, if you see someone destroy, it can make you feel like, I'm never going to be that good.
Yeah.
I've had those moments for sure where I watch someone just clean up and I'm like, ugh,
Well, when I
can't do
did
that.
when I did one of my warm-up sets at Just for Laughs, I was on this like queer comedy show, the one with Wanda Sykes, and I was between Jessica Curson and Wanda Sykes at the end, which, by the way, that's just hostile. Like, I don't know who the fuck did that lineup, but it's literally like, hey, let's put the person put the person we've never heard of, and let's just sandwich him between two celebrities. Like, cool.
Yeah, that's
and Jessica went up and annihilated. Like, the audience was kind of bad, and she, in every sense of the word, destroyed. And then the host comes into the back and he goes, hey, I'm just going to bring you right up. And I was like, oh my God, no, you reset the room. That's not how you host.
That's bad form.
And then he brings me right up and I ate it in front of Wanda. I ate it in front of Jessica because I couldn't follow her. Like, she destroyed.
Well, what's your definition of ate it? Are you saying ate it in comparison to someone that just destroyed, or did you fucking eat it like, you know what I mean?
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that I bombed.
Okay, so you got laughs, but not.
Yes.
Like, it was
But
not.
it was not good.
You could feel that deflation.
Oh
of
my
energy.
God. It was
Yeah.
just like, it was like so much energy and the room was on fire. And then I went up and it was like somebody let the air out of the balloon. Like, it was
So
oh my
weird
God.
how that can just be like lineup, because if they had put you earlier, you probably could have killed and just
Sure.
helped get the energy started, you know?
But that's the thing is, like, I bombed in front of Wanda. I bombed in front of Jess. Oh, Deanne Smith was on the show. I bombed in front of her. I bombed in front of so many people. And I was like, I was mad because I was like, no, like, this line, like, I can't follow Jessica. She's so good.
Yeah.
I can't follow her. And I was kind of mad because I was like, honey, like, I can contribute to a fucking lineup, but please don't put me after the best comic.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know.
It's going to just fuck with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's way too hardcore.
Yeah. And that was my first show this year, and I thought, fuck. And then when I did my warm-up show, I did so well.
Oh, nice.
And then I was like, okay.
Well, the night I saw you, you did really well. I'm sure you got that, right? The
Thank-
John
that was
Doerr
the-
one?
yeah.
I was at the 10 o'clock show or 10:30 or whatever
taping,
it was
yeah,
on the Saturday night. Yeah.
I actually was
The
really
one
happy
girl,
with.
remember? Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
But you remember the girl? She got her. They had to like redo all these segments. I don't know if you stuck
Fatima.
around. Yeah,
Yeah.
Everyone felt so bad for her. It was weird, man. They had to like cue it up, and she had to fake the jokes, and everyone had to pretend we hadn't heard them.
Well, I thought that actually kind of worked in her favor because she, when I was watching her, I was literally like, sure, like, she has to redo the joke.
Yeah.
But like, then the audience laughter was like really big. So like,
You know
it just
why?
looked
'Cause
really good.
It was just, in my opinion, it's because it was a Canadian audience.
Sure.
We were just really like, hey, that's not fair, and then
Yeah.
we gave it harder. I think you're
Yeah.
right. She got a bigger applause the second
so it's
time.
going to look great for her taping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some people might have cracked under that pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was so like weird and such
Yeah.
a bizarre situation for compared to normal stand-up comics.
Yeah.
What they got to deal with. But
Yeah. No, that taping was really good. I made one little mistake, but I just, whatever.
yeah.
I don't care.
I didn't notice. So
Yeah,
that's one thing
yeah.
I was going to say when you're talking about bombing. I feel like bombing is a very strong word because a lot of the time people say they bombed and then the audience is like, no, you didn't. You did
Yeah.
fine. A lot of that can be kind of in your own head.
Okay, well, I
because
didn't-
bombing should be undebatable. To me,
Sure.
if someone bombed, it's like no one in the room would argue otherwise. That's bombing, in my opinion.
Sure.
So
Okay, so then I guess I didn't like bomb.
I can't even picture you bombing, like bombing.
But I did not do well.
Yeah.
I did not do well, and it was so funny. Afterward, I felt kind of like I was licking my wounds, and I remember I was talking to Deanne Smith, and I said to her, I was like, "Oh man, that was rough," and then she was like, I'm going to tell you something that Kathleen Madigan told me before I was about to do a gala like a few years ago. She's like, because I was feeling really nervous. And she
Yeah.
goes, if you go out there and if you absolutely kill, she's like, it doesn't matter. And if you go out there and you absolutely bomb, it doesn't matter. And I was like, that is so true.
Something I've noticed too is like I stress about it way more, and then I've had thoughts where I'm like, wait, no one actually fucking cares.
Exactly.
Like you put, especially if I post something on
Exactly.
Instagram, I'm like, no one cares. No
Yeah.
one like follows my posts. I'm like, whatever. You got to get out of that
Yeah.
mindset because
Yeah.
it's
Crazy. People don't. No one cares.
yeah, but it's hard not to like
Yeah.
just get in your own head. I mean, you're putting yourself out there, and especially when you're trying out new material. Like
100%,
I don't know.
yeah.
But you gotta be the jester, I guess, and just be okay with
Yeah.
whatever fucking goes. That's why I started doing comedy years ago, which I took kind of a big gap. I only recently got into doing it steadily last March. So but before that I was just kind of dabbling.
Sure.
And shit, I totally lost my track of thought. Oh my God, fucking weed. What did you say right before this?
Just that if you kill, it doesn't matter. If you bomb, it doesn't matter.
Self-pressure. I don't even fucking know where I was going with that.
It's just that, yeah, it's really just like...
It'll come back to me.
No, but it's like your own reflection. It's literally just sort of like the person that it matters to the most is just you.
Yeah.
And if you are at peace with like, well, that wasn't my best, and you're okay with that, then I think that you're ahead of a lot of people, because we all have a really hard time with that. I mean, you know, if I have like a really bad set where you're just like getting those like hot flashes afterward where you're like, oof, like that was rough. We all have those kind of sets sometimes, but like in general, like if I do really poorly, there's always reasons why. It's like, well, I didn't tell that joke right, or well, I was trying out new shit, or it's like, you know, sometimes
the hard part though is learning to look at it that way, and learning to start like stop being afraid of the failure, I guess, and that's why I was spacing my shit out at the beginning, is because I would have mixed feelings about the entire experience, and I would stress out for like a week before a show. I'd be like, just the anticipation was what would fuck me up. It wasn't even once I'd be on the stage, it would usually go well, and then I'd be like, what was I worried about?
Oh, well, that's what it always is.
But how do you get rid of that fucking...
You can't. It's always...
I hate that lingering, impending doom feeling.
Oh, yeah. No, it never goes away.
Shit.
It never goes away.
I think that's why I want to do this shit more. Like, I like doing comedy, but this is so much more my game, man. Just fucking talking to people and learning shit, making friends. Like, that's... I don't know.
Do it.
Feeling more in my element here, you know?
Good.
Yeah.
In your, like...
In my nerd cave.
Your nerd cave.
I got a couple music things up here. I got Conway Twitty over here. I bought this at Value Village. Basically because, I don't know, from Family Guy, if you've ever seen, there was a recurring segment where they'd say, like, Conway Twitty. So it was mainly because of that. It was $2. I was like, whatever. But now I think it's funny because I started reading it, and look at the first song, including I've Already Loved You in My Mind. That song might as well be called Spank Bang.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that.
And he also looks like an old, like, that, you know, that aging app?
Yes.
If you put that on Jeremy Renner. Right? Kind of. If you saw the back, you would totally agree with me.
Oh, sure. I think Conway Twitty, like his mighty hair.
The friggin' pompadour, I think that's what it's called.
I love that. 20 certified #1 hits.
Yeah, apparently he was a huge star. I kind of looked him up because after decorating, I realized he was kind of dead in center. And I was like, okay, he's a country star. There's a good chance he might have some racist shit in his past. And I didn't want like people to watch the podcast and then be like, he's Conway Twitty fan.
Sure.
I don't know. But it turns out, yeah, he's a good guy from what I read on Wikipedia. He doesn't have any scandals or any of that shit. So.
Well, that's rare.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Well, I heard some shit. Like, I got Johnny Cash up there, who I love his music. But I heard some bad shit about him, that he was
sure.
Pretty racist.
Oh, but he's
Mainly.
from the South. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
and it was a long time ago. Doesn't justify it, but it taints it for me if I hear some shit about anyone, whether they're an actor or a musician. It almost sucks to peek behind the curtain. Look at like Kevin Spacey. Fuck, no one wants to watch his movies anymore.
Well, I mean, I think that if you peek behind the curtain for most celebrities, you'd be like, Jesus, and you would never.
Probably true.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I know like a lot of celebrities, but literally like whenever I do hang out with and speak to celebrities, it's like the more I do comedy and like the bigger gigs that I do, I'm just sort of like, oh no, like I fully understand your bullshit. It's like I fully understand like,
oh yeah, your empathy and your like just people radar goes up for sure.
Yeah, because you're just sort of like, oh, I know what you're doing, and it's just sort of like,
well, and in my opinion, if you believe in like empathy and that kind of shit. And just energy of people. I know it sounds really fucking out there, but I feel like comics are definitely putting their fucking energy out there. They're letting you in a way that most people don't.
No,
you know what I mean?
Right.
So imagine you're in a room full of people like that.
Yeah.
They're all kind of letting you into their psyche in this weird way that, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I don't know. In general, I find that most celeb stars and stuff like that, they all have some.
Well, Damaged is okay. I don't mind damaged people. Like I have OCD, I got anxiety, I got my own issues, but it's just, are you a decent person? That's are you not a fucking dick? That's how I judge people. Like, and you can read that pretty quick with a lot of people.
Yeah, I find 9 times out of 10, I find most people are actually genuinely like good people and want good things, but I also find that you will also meet people that are just garbage. Those are the ones
I've met a lot of people through comedy that I felt were like good people deep down, but they put up this huge front, and I don't have the energy to like chip away at your social armor. So I can either be really real with them, or I just say fuck it, like I don't have time to be your friend. If that makes any sense, like people who are just like really defensive and a lot of that posturing, where I'm just like, I just want to talk to people who are real and direct, and there's none of that bullshit. A lot of my 30s for me has been mitigating bullshit, like cutting friends out who just aren't fucking good friends and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I'd much rather have less friends, but good friends, shit like that. Or I had a lot of people who make you feel like you got to chase them down to hang out. You know, you ever had a friend like that where it's like you're always the one texting them, and then you're like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like,
well, I mean, you know, so I turned 30 this year, and I certainly had I've been doing a lot of like reflecting, like, this is really random, but like I just sort of, that little bubble burst where you realize that you're not invincible. And you're literally just like, oh no, like I'm gonna die. Like
that keeps getting worse in my experience.
Yeah.
I have existential crises like weekly.
All the time. I think that you do have to come to peace with that at some point where you're literally just like, well, we all, like, no one gets out alive. Like we're all going somewhere.
And it can be a good thing because it can cause you to start going to the gym more, or like just eating healthier. Like I made a lot of positive changes with those freakouts in my life because I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to
shadow of death is eclipsed. But
oh fuck, that's what I was gonna say. That was my train of thought thing.
What?
Was that I was able to do stand-up comedy after getting a divorce because I felt like kind of invincible, because I was like, okay, these people might not laugh at my jokes. Like that seemed like nothing in comparison to, you know, like having your whole life kind of uprooted and everything fucking going wonky or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know. That was the point I had forgotten earlier.
Tragedy plus time equals comedy.
I guess, or confidence, in my opinion, because if you get beaten down, I guess emotionally in a way where you're just kind of like, okay, well, what else you got? Life, you know, that's how I kind of felt. Like I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like whatever. Yeah. Like this isn't gonna phase me. Like I'm already in the gutter right now or whatever. You know, like
I think for well, no, just to get back to that conversation about cutting friends out that like really are just kind of superficial. Things like that. I mean, you know, the more that I've been doing stand-up and the more success that I have, and I mean, you know, you were witness to it last night. The more success that I have, I see who my friends are, and a lot of people turn on you. When you move past them, or if you're on the same level as them, or you're doing a similar gig as them, or you are doing a gig that maybe they wanted that they've never gotten that you got, or you got it before them, or
competitive shit comes out.
That kind of shit. I have dealt with like 3 or 4 people that truly have projected their anger and insecurity onto me, and like are basically like, I want you to know that I don't like you, and blah blah blah. And none of these things have anything to do with me. It's literally it's all them. And
we were talking about this last night. It's just classic bully syndrome.
Absolutely.
Like I need to make other people feel as shitty as I feel.
Exactly. And as I've gotten older, because I am I think as a comic, we, in a way, like, are people pleasers because we want to make people laugh and we want to make people have a good time. So for me, I would, when I found out that people didn't like me, I would be like, oh God. And then I would try to do everything that I could to get them to like me.
That's kind of how I feel. Like, as far as with the audience, I always want to make everybody laugh, and I never want to hurt anyone's feelings. Legitimately. I don't like certain topics because I'm just like, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about gender. I don't want to talk about anything that's going to fucking make someone be like, that guy's a dickhead. You know?
Right.
And even last night, I said a joke about being vegetarian, and some vegan chick came up later, and I think she was just fucking around, but she made a joke that was kind of like in reference to me and kind of like, I didn't appreciate it.
She's like, that was assault. But yeah, like literally, like I would just try so hard to get people to like me, and then I just was like, I don't like you. Yeah. And then I was like, why do I care?
Yeah.
And it's a lesson.
That's empowering.
Yeah, it's like, it's a lesson that it's easier said than done. It's something that I'm working on all the time. But literally, like, I have definitely gotten to a point in my life where, like, if you don't like me, I don't care. I can still like you if you don't like me. That's fine. Like I'm a big boy. Like I can handle
if you
that.
appreciate someone's work.
Sure,
Yeah,
but like if you don't like me and I don't like you, then fine,
Yeah,
great.
what are we doing here?
Let's
shut it
just
down.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'll be professional with you.
Only more
but
people could do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so too.
The
because
world would be a happier place.
yeah, there are some people that I actually have, and there has been like irreparable damage to our sort of friendship because of things that have gone down. And when I run into them, I find I'm more of a person that can be like, hello, how are you? Where, they tend to be a little bit more immature about it. Yeah. And you're like, okay.
Is this someone you're forced to run into sometimes?
All
through
the
work,
time.
like comedy stuff?
All the time. Yeah, all the time.
Shit, man, that sucks. Well, it makes you more of a pro, a champ, to have to deal with that bullshit, I guess, in a way, as annoying as it might be.
It's part of the job, I guess.
Yeah. When we're talking about people in my 30s that I try to cut out, another one that I've always hated is people who, when you're hanging out with them one-on-one, and this goes back to when I was a teenager, like crashing at a buddy's place, sleepover style. You have these great times together. But then as soon as you're in a crowd of people, they throw you under the fucking bus just to look cool.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, because then I'm like, hey, man, what about when we roasted marshmallows together or whatever, like, I thought we had a fucking moment. And you're just, it's so cavalier, you just fucking toss me under, Anyway.
Sure.
I don't know why I mentioned
I'm
that,
just
but
picturing like a crowd of people, and then like this person says like talk shit about you, and then the crowd disperses, and then it's just you like with tears streaming down your eyes.
Honestly,
like,
I'm pretty sensitive. I don't know. I've never cried after a set. I've never really had a super bad set. I haven't done that many. I don't know. Maybe I'm probably at like 40 or something now in my whole career of comedy sets. Maybe 30 even. I don't fucking know. But I've never done one where I felt like I bombed. I don't think you've ever seen me do comedy. I don't know. I met you on a show actually.
Yeah, this was years ago. We were in the green room. You had a guitar. I think it was either like
you
a
had
competition.
a boyfriend there at the time too. I think I remember talking to some guy.
Oh my god, he's a total piece of shit. We don't need to talk about it.
I was gonna say yeah. I always like to bring up my guests' exes. It makes for a good conversation. No.
I don't know if you're listening to this. If you are, I hope that your house catches on fire and you're trapped inside. Anyway, no. And
we don't have to talk about.
No, honey,
if you want to, man, I'm here. But names.
Yeah, I know.
Guy fucking sending me emails.
Yeah. No, was just a person for me that we had a very intense relationship, but at the end of the day, like we had nothing in common, and we kind of just brought the worst out in each other. Gotcha. And so
it's just really good sex then.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Why else would you stay?
Yeah, that was exactly what it was. And literally, I think that he kind of felt that same way too. And we did not end things on a positive note. And we haven't really spoken since. I mean, he's since tried to like reach out and talk and stuff like that. And
he's coming back for the booty call, man.
I mean, like I'm in a relationship, like no thanks.
Yeah, that's
but
with the
potato. But with that being said, I can't believe I'm like talking so much shit about my ex, but like whatever.
Man. There's no way he's gonna fucking.
Yeah, no, but like he,
I mean, I'm hoping you'll share this, and I'm assuming you're not Facebook friends with him anymore. So.
No, God, no,
okay,
no.
There we go.
But like he tried to reach out to chat and go for a coffee, and I just was like, girl, like you and I did not have a good relationship when we were together. We did not end things well. Why would I want to go for coffee?
That's the mature thing to do.
Sure. Absolutely not.
The sex is definitely a reason people will stay in a bad relationship. But the other one that I find is funny is when people are just like, they're just bound by like the fact that they have an apartment together. And like, this happened to me. It's like you have, we got 3 cats or whatever together. Yeah. And you just, you make excuses because it's convenient to not like shake the boat and upset your whole life. It's a big deal, right? To fucking rearrange your whole life. But it's just weird. Dane Cook actually had a really funny bit that I've always loved about the girl breaking up, and they're like, Cindy, you should just break up with him. He's a fucking asshole. And she's like, it's not that easy, okay? My CDs are still in his truck.
Yeah.
Like just making fucking dumb excuses to stick around.
Right. Yeah. Well, when I was 20 years old, I moved in with my other ex. I've been in a lot of relationships. I'm very much like a serial monogamist.
That's 100% how I was too. Yeah. I wouldn't say I had a lot. I don't know, a normal amount, but I've definitely not been the single bachelor dude very many times.
I'm pretty sure we dated at one point. It's crazy. I lived with him when I was like 20 years old, because when I was 20, like I was like, we're all fucking stupid when we're 20. I literally was like, oh my God, like, are we about to get married? Thinking like,
See, I actually got married.
oh, fuck. And here we are. But you know,
No, it worked out all good for me. Just for the record, anyone who's listening.
well, I mean, you know, when my parents, like in my parents' generation, it was very much sort of like the best time to get married is when you still have braces. Like
It's so true. Yeah, people were like, what, 17, getting married,
yeah.
and
Having,
high
like-
school sweethearts and shit.
Can you imagine being
Weird,
with the
man.
same person that you were with in high school, like
Sexually
no,
and
bitch.
otherwise.
Yeah, like
On
no,
both fronts, it's
no,
like crazy.
There's a whole world out there.
Well, that's the weird thing, right? Let's say you're high school sweethearts and you do have this amazing relationship. You still don't know that it could have possibly
Sure.
been better. This
Yeah.
might have just been like
Yeah.
your stepping stone into dating. I don't know.
It's
It's kind of romantic, I guess, in an old-fashioned way, but it seems just naive.
I think so too. I think so too.
It makes sense for that old time.
Sure.
You wanted to just find a partner and fucking start a farm and have a bunch of kids to help fucking sow the fields or whatever.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I
I don't know
moved
how far
in.
back we're going here.
Oh, sure, but like no, I
the
moved in with
cave.
this guy, and then we broke up 5 times because I was like, it's okay. Like people that break up 5 times, they get back together because they love each other. Because couples fight, but we were together for like a year, which is like it was so toxic.
Long enough, yeah.
And then we had a lease that we had to finish. We had to live together for 5 months, but we had a roommate. So we had to share a bed together for 5 months, even though we were broken up and we fucking hated each other.
Brutal.
Yeah. So like I have been in a lot of
Holy
like,
fuck, that would suck.
yeah. When he it was really funny actually. He was actually a really funny person. When he left the apartment finally the day he moved out, I remember I like watched him from the balcony and I was like waving goodbye, and he just like gave me and the building a finger, and he was like, fuck you. And I thought that was really funny because I was like, fair. I was like,
yeah.
I totally get that.
Get that out of your system, buddy. Jesus. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. I had a couple questions. We've gone over some of them. I got weird ones, too. I was going to ask you if you could have a superpower, what would it be? Because, you know, in theme of...
I have a wall of inspiration.
Yeah, 100%. Or if you want to come up with your own, but...
If I had a superpower,
Or you could just pick a superhero if that just kind of encapsulates what you'd want to be. Because like me, I do like Spider-Man, but he's got a bunch of powers, right? But I think being Spider-Man for a day in like New York City and web slinging and shit would be one of the funnest things in the world. If you knew how to do it like as well as him, you know, if you just had that knowledge, fucking...
Sure. I did like
I sound
Into
like
the
I'm 12 years
Spider-Verse.
old.
That was a cool movie.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
really...
that was good.
Kind of trippy, too.
Yeah, I was also high when I watched it.
That's a good movie to see baked. Actually.
Yeah. Let me think. I guess probably either like how Wolverine can like heal himself.
But that comes with like the do you want to live forever fucking question, right?
I feel like in a way we
Watch
like,
everyone you love die.
sure.
It's weird.
Or
Just like no hesitation.
sure. Or invisibility.
Invisibility.
Because like when I can't even tell you how many times where like someone I can see at like my 9 o'clock is approaching me. That's like, do you remember in Wayne's World when like Wayne sees that girl and what was her name? Like
his ex.
Cindy,
Yeah,
and then it was like
Stacy, I think.
Stacy,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was like like sometimes I have that where I'm like,
And they
oh
haven't
my God.
seen you yet, and you're just
yeah,
like, I
and you're
could
like,
peace
"Fuck,"
out.
and I just want to disappear.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, like
so not
after-
for creepy reasons then. A lot of people
No.
who pick invisibility, I think they're doing it for creepy reasons.
for creepy
To
reasons.
sneak in places.
Oh well, now you've given me ideas. Okay, that too.
You could be real bad. You could rob a fucking bank. You could do crazy shit if you could go invisible.
Yeah, I feel like if I could go invisible, I think
You used
would
it for
just-
such an innocent thing. You're like, I would hide from exes.
Yeah.
Way to use your superpower.
Yeah, and to avoid people and like to just like if I'm being real, yeah, like sometimes like after shows, like I just would like to retreat to the green room. I don't want to. I feel like it's kind of gross. Like unless I'm trying to sell something, it's like I do think it's kind of gross. Like waiting at the end of the bar.
To talk to the comic?
No, like to like see the audience out. Like good night, have a good evening.
Oh, yeah, I
it
always
looks like
find
you're
that
just
kind of-
begging for attention.
Yeah. It's like they just watched you for an hour. Like,
Yeah. People, I mean, it's so presumptuous to just wait by the door to be like, thank you. It's like, looks like you're just like begging for
Yeah.
attention. You're begging for compliments. Like I am an extroverted introvert where like I can be really extroverted when I need to be. I know how to be social. I do have good social skills.
But you need to recharge.
And I need to stop.
Yeah.
And that's when my superpower
healthy.
kicks in and I have to be invisible and I have to go away. Because if I don't, I will snap and I will go crazy.
At first I thought you were going to say it's weird when someone waits at the end of the bar to meet and talk to the comic, because I've definitely been that guy a million times.
No.
I like, in case you can't tell, I'm not afraid to like approach people. I'm very like,
Sure.
I don't know. I just like meeting people.
Yeah.
So when I see comics I respect, I'm not afraid to be the guy to just go up and be like, give it a shot. You know, it might not go well, but like one time I smoked Tom Green on a joint on the roof of Yuck Yucks, which I didn't even know you could go up there.
How did you get up there?
He brought me, and then like 4 girls just appeared that I didn't even know had followed us. They just like an entourage was just like, oh, Tom Green's going to the roof.
I know all those girls. Yeah. I love all the girls that work there. Like I every time I go
This
there.
is years ago. This is like
Probably they haven't changed staff in like 5 years.
Yeah. 5-6 years ago this would have been before I even did comedy.
Yeah.
But
no,
I love
Tom
Tom Green.
Have
you worked
there.
with Tom Green?
Yeah,
I've met him a couple times, but it's always felt like he was being like, you know, PR version of himself. Like, you know what I mean? Like when comics are in comic mode where they're like being very professional, but like I never felt like I was getting that genuine connection, which is fair. Hey, I don't fucking know him. He doesn't owe that to me. But
I figured he's kind of mellowed out at this point. I mean,
he sometimes seems like I start to wonder. I've heard that like in real life he's actually like really just calm and not like he is when he's screaming on the street and all that kind of shit that he used to do. You know? He seems kind of shy and nervous when I've seen him on podcasts in a really innocent, sweet way.
Oh, he's very nice. I mean, he got this moonshine alcohol that had come out, and I was hosting that week, and we got to promote it, and he gave me like a bunch of shots for free. Nice. And then I think he like invited me to go to Dunn's on Elgin, and like I had to tune with him. Guy. Yeah, he was. I really.
We went to the same high school, so like I heard stuff from teachers that I had about when he was in school. I would hear all these stories about like him like running up and down the lunch tables and like squashing people's lunches. That's what one teacher told me, which sounds kind of like crazy. I don't know. Yeah. And he would fake like falling down the stairs, like having a seizure, and then just like get up and like walk away.
Oh, sure.
Just like zany shit like that. Yeah, I don't know. He was a fucking crazy kid, man.
Oh, 100%.
But actually, I have a weird story about Tom Green. The first time I met him was actually when I was like 15, I want to say.
Yeah.
And it was 2 days before Christmas in Beacon Hill. So, you know Ottawa, yeah?
Yeah.
So Beacon Hill, Gloucester, whatever. And my buddy and I were in the middle of a blizzard. We just got off the 95. We're walking back to my folks' place where I was living because I was 15. And
oh, that's a little unorthodox.
Yeah.
What?
Little blizzard action going on. And we go to the Pronto. We were going to buy munchies just because we were super fucking baked and we wanted to eat some garbage food.
The Pronto, what's a
Pronto Food Mart? It's like it's still there surprisingly after like 20 years because they're not a franchise from what I know.
Pronto.
Or they definitely don't have tons of locations, but it's like a quickie, whatever.
Sure.
And some woman walks out as we're walking in. And we're super high, so we're not paying attention. And then we go grab a couple things, and then the cashier's like, "Oh, that lady who just walked out was Drew Barrymore." And we're like, "Fuck you, buddy." We thought he was messing with us. So then we're like, "No, he's being serious." We went out, and they were in their SUV, like no one else in the world. You know those snowy blizzard days where you feel like you're like post-apocalyptic, and there's just this black SUV, and we got to meet them and kind of just say hi for a couple minutes. It was during the 6 months they were married, I guess.
Yeah, it was like in 2004.
He brought her here once, and they were kind of doing the tour.
Yeah, I was there for that actually because I was at the shopping center. I was at Place.
Oh, I was like, you were in the blizzard at the Pronto?
Yeah, and and they went into this place. It was called Market Fresh. It doesn't exist anymore.
No, I remember that. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like a farm boy type thing.
Yeah, and it was like in the shopping center, and then they went and Drew Barrymore got like a salad or something, and I saw her. I didn't say anything, but I was like, oh. And
that's cool. Yeah
I didn't say anything though. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know if this is like, if this sounds bad, but like when I see celebrities, I don't care, because I'm literally like, you're just another person. Like you the difference is just that like there's a camera on you.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think, well, first of all, I do think that's very specific because I think I am someone who is affected by celebrity, or maybe I'm just not used to it yet or whatever. But when I do meet someone, I definitely get a little, especially if I'm like a fanboy for them. Like if I were to meet like Kevin Smith, I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. If I met him, I'm sure I would get a little giddy or whatever. But my fiance Kelly, she's like, she didn't care at all. Sure. Every time she She doesn't
all
get excited
relative.
about,
Yeah.
she's just like, she's a nurse. She works at ICU. She has like real life problems where
Yeah.
like people are dying. I guess
Yeah.
that's part of it, but
I guess there are some. I mean, I shouldn't say that about all celebrities, obviously, because I mean, like, I haven't really met that many. But I mean, just sort of in general, I always think like, oh, if I saw this celebrity, I would freak out. But like,
I never freak out. It's more just, sorry.
Yeah, I would say when I do see them, I'm kind of just like, oh, like, there you are.
Yeah.
And I don't have the inkling to go up and be like, oh my God, I loved you in this, because I'm like, what's that going to accomplish?
Yeah, it's true. They probably don't give a shit.
They don't care.
I don't know. I like to think, because if someone said that to me, I would so care, and I hope that if I ever get to that point somehow, I don't change, and I don't lose that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me being hopeful or whatever, but I feel like I would care every time someone was like, hey man, your shit really moved me or inspired me or whatever. Like, how can that not affect you? I don't know, man.
I don't know. I guess for me, it's just sort of like, if somebody, like, if I was really rich and famous and somebody came up to me that I didn't know and said, hey, I really like your stuff, I'd be like, oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, what else can you do?
But that doesn't add anything to their life. That doesn't add anything to my life. It just sort of is like, oh, okay, cool. We had this little interaction.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. It's kind of like,
I don't know. It just doesn't
really change the world.
No.
In any way. Yeah.
So it's just sort of like, I think that you can just quietly respect someone.
Yeah.
Just being like, oh, like, I love their work, and being like, oh, that's really cool that I just saw them. And then I don't know if I would talk to them.
See, I'm totally the opposite. And now I feel like a douchebag.
No.
I don't know. I think when you were saying like, oh, they're just another person, like, but they have a camera on them. I think for me, it's more, that's, I guess, part of it, but it's more like, no, they're a person that's doing something that I want to do, and they've reached a level where they've done it and they've succeeded. That it's more like, that's what's alluring to me. I'm going like, I'm trying to figure them out. Like, what is it about you? Like, how have you gotten to the place that you're at? Not that fame and fortune is everything, but more just like succeeding in your craft. You know what I mean? I guess it's a respect thing when I see someone. It's like, that I really...
To be honest with you, in my experience, what I have seen from the industry is a lot of it is right place, right time. A lot of it is there's not... right now, comedy right now is about diversification. Mm-hmm. It's about bringing in voices that normally weren't heard in stand-up comedy for a really long time.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. And it's getting a lot of straight white men very angry.
I don't understand that.
I know. And I think...
As a straight white man, I don't understand that.
Yeah. I think what a lot of people, like he who shall not be named, don't understand is that when they see someone like me doing my thing, and they're like, well, wow, this person's so gay. Why don't they talk about something else? Honey, me talking about my relationship is not a gay thing.
No, not at all.
That's me talking about my life.
How is that any different from them talking about their wife or their kids? Or
exactly.
Yeah.
And me talking about all kinds of shit. And having to make it about my sexuality. It's like, if it's not for you, mm-hmm. I don't care, because it's so arrogant to think that every comedian is for you.
Yeah.
It's like what I think a lot of straight men have a hard time accepting is that there are things in this world that they're not going to think is funny that other people will think is funny, and it's for them, and then it's not for the straight guy. And straight men in general, I'm not saying it's you, I'm not saying it's you.
No, I was just going to say, because as a straight man, I think that, like, I love seeing different perspectives in comedy. That, like, I can 100% appreciate quote-unquote gay jokes or black jokes. If some guy's talking about growing up in the ghetto or some shit that I can't necessarily relate to on a tangible life experience level, I love how a person can bring you in with their experience. That's what a good comic should do. They're telling a story. They're letting you into their life for a bit. Like, that's fucking awesome. That's what comedy's all about.
That's not how. That's
not how a lot of white guys are, I'm sure. Yeah.
But that's the thing is, and it gets people so mad. And you think about how you think about how there were comics that were for everyone, quote unquote, like Louis C.K. and Bill Cosby. Yeah. And like,
not so much.
And the thing is also, I've never cared for those comedians. They're still funny. But when straight white men see me do what I do, just because they don't care for my comedy, they're like, that's not funny.
Yeah.
And you're like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, just because it's not for you,
Just remember
doesn't
that
mean
there
it's not
are
funny.
straight white guys like me that do think it's funny, just like there's probably some gay guys that don't think it's funny. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
It's like
sure.
fucking everybody's
Oh,
out
sure.
there. Don't forget about the straight white guys who like your shit is what I'm saying.
Oh
You know
no,
what I mean?
and
Like,
I understand that, but in general, that is what it is.
Oh,
and
I can
was
believe
witness to it fucking last
Yes,
night. I deal with
100%.
that. I deal with that shit all the
and
time.
that's exactly why I told you, because I was like, I just couldn't sit on that. I'm not that kind of person, as I mentioned earlier. Like, I'm not going to keep that shit to myself.
But you know what though? If I was a female comic and I wanted to talk about my fucking period for like an hour,
Exactly.
then bitch, I'm gonna talk about my fucking period. It's like, don't tell me
Yeah.
what I can and cannot talk about. I am expressing my art in the way that I want.
And
if
those
you
guys
don't
are
like
the same
it,
people who don't want to be censored, and they want to be able to say whatever the fuck they want. So why, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that right now where we are, people get so mad about 2 letters, PC. They get so mad about that. We're like, oh, it's so PC. I will say that sometimes a lesson that a lot of hyper liberal people do need to learn is that just because you're offended doesn't mean it's offensive. That is
100%.
That is something that I
And
think
it also
a lot
doesn't
of
mean you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But PC just means that people need to be more aware that what they're saying can affect other people and communities in a negative way.
Yeah.
And in the future, to not perpetuate like fucked up shit. Because I mean, when I was a kid, and I mean, this is still a thing, it's getting better, but it's really not that much better. When I was a kid, the pejorative is like, you're a fag or that shit's gay. That would be like if
That's true. I can
that would
attest
be
to
like
that.
if
That
I
was-
was like if we referred to something negative as something I didn't like and I was like, oh, that shit's so black.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, yeah.
what?
And I can say, like, when I was in grade 5 or 6, 10, 11, we all said that shit. Like, oh, that's super gay. And it's, again, it's an insecurity thing. It's because guys at that age are just trying to figure out, like, their own sexuality, I think.
Sure.
And the thought of being gay maybe scares them because, like you said, you know, they're discriminated against to some degree. It's a scarier sexual orientation to have, I guess. I would assume transgender is even more intense. Like, in
I
the
live my
landscape
life
that
in
we're dealing
fear.
with. Well, no, not like that, but you know what I mean.
On the daily.
Well, fucking, if it was the 50s, you probably would have. You know what I mean? Like, not that long ago, you would have been maybe gay people would have been fucking chased after with a stake. It seems like, right, in the 50s.
Now you turn to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
What did you do back in the day?
No,
How
not
did you?
because he's older, not because he has anything against gay
What did you
people.
do on the weekends? Tell me. No.
No, but I want to say, like, when did gay rights really? It was like the 80s it started pushing through, and then even then, the AIDS shit made people fucking afraid. I don't know, man.
Well, so basically,
never
the
understood
gay
this
right, the gay pride parade started in the late 1960s, and the 1970s people fought for gay rights. You know, people like Harvey Milk, and then it
Yes,
became the
okay, I've seen that movie.
1980s, and then in the 90s, people were like. It was like white gay men that were at the height of privilege because they didn't have kids. They had high salaries, and most of them hadn't revealed that they were gay. And then now. Anyway, it's a lot. You know, it's a lot. But the thing is that, like, to be honest with you, I would say after like Lady Gaga and like Glee brought like gay culture to the zeitgeist
More
in
into the
such a
mainstream.
big
Yeah,
way.
for sure.
That was when there really was like a big change. If you watch,
So that's super recent. That's insane, right? Like, even
Oh,
gay
yeah.
marriage being legalized as well.
oh
the last
yeah,
10 years in the
yeah,
States.
yeah,
or something. Not
You
even-
go back like 5 years, and the shit that you see on TV is like really fucked up. But I mean, at the same time, like, also, I'm gonna completely just own this because when I started comedy, like Anthony Jeselnik and Amy Schumer were like the biggest comics, and their edge was absurdly ignorant and absurdly racist, and that was like
And
that was
mean
the
yeah.
trend. So when I started, I was like saying really fucking stupid racist shit.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I'm edgy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't obviously. If I saw a video of that, like, I'd be so embarrassed.
Yeah.
But like at the time, like that was.
Or it's the same with like a rape joke or something like that.
Sure.
There's just certain things you learn after a while where it's like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I made a joke that got labeled as a rape joke by some dude that I had an argument with on Twitter. This was my first set ever at Yuck Yucks. And the guys, for the reference for his name on his Twitter handle or whatever, was Christ's Blood. So he was clearly opinionated in a lot of ways. But the joke, it's not even that good of a joke, but it was something about, isn't it weird that it's only fat chicks that carry rape whistles or something like that. But it was more meant to be a joke about people that think they want to make people think like, oh yeah, I need this. People want to fuck me. And it's like, no, like no one's trying to fuck you. That was more what the joke was supposed to be, is like, you know.
That's like Natasha Leggero had a joke like that where she said,
that makes me feel better.
Yeah, no, she had a joke. Well, I mean, it's different because it's coming from a woman, but like
exactly, and that's one of those things I realized, you know.
Yeah, well, but exactly, we all say dumb shit.
Exactly. Like
you learn from it.
I just wish I didn't record it after, or I had not put that in my fucking.
Well, she had a joke where she was like, the joke was, she goes, "Why is it always your ugliest friend that's afraid that she's gonna be raped?" And she's like, girl, there's like 3 of us ahead in line. Like, you'll be fine.
See, that's so much better than my joke. I had a follow-up that I never actually got to do, which was going to be just about the absurdity of the rape whistle. Like, at what point if you hear a whistle are you going to be like, oh, someone's getting raped? Like,
sure.
Well, you know what I mean? You should have something that you press a button that says, help, I'm being raped. That would work a lot better. What's going to happen with a whistle? A bunch of dogs are going to come?
You press the power button on your phone 5 times and it calls the police.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, I did that one time. I was doing this gig in awesome. Kitchener, and I was I guess I had my phone in my pocket, and I guess I must have pressed it too many, or it must have, you know, like I pocket dialed the police.
Oh shit!
And it's because I guess if you press the button 5 times, it makes an emergency call. And then on the way back, I had the comics in the car, and then I got a phone call from a weird number, and it was on the Bluetooth. And I picked up the phone, and it was like, "Is this Kyle Brownrigg? This is Constable blah 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 blah."
Oh shit!
And he's like, "We are checking in to make sure that everything is okay. You are not in danger." And I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And he's like, "Oh, I think you pocket dialed us." And I was like, "Oh."
Wow.
Yeah.
That was fucking intense.
Yeah,
Jesus.
it was. We were all like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" Like we all just kind of stopped in the car. It was like really really scary.
Sorry, I had a question I wanted to ask you about when we were talking about the gay comedy stuff, or being gay in comedy rather.
You mean my set? Yeah.
Well, have you ever felt that you got put on a show to be like that sort of diversity act?
Being tokenized?
Yes.
Oh, honey, all the time.
And do you care? Does that bother you?
Oh, God, no.
Okay.
I could care less. If that is going to, I think that's why a lot
It's
of straight...
still better than not having a gay comic on there.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of straight guys also are really bitter about me moving up so quickly, is because they're just sort of like, oh, like it's this fucking gimmick. He's gay. It's like, honey,
they think you have a cheat card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, honey, it's like, okay, let's say I did, right? Let's just say I did have a cheat card and it was just like a gimmick or something like that. Honey, that's show business. Yeah. That's how it works.
Exactly.
I'm sorry,
that's
but
your fucking angle. People say the same thing when I bring a guitar. I've heard that shit before. That like, oh, it's cheap to like use music because that's an angle or an advantage. But it's like, well, fuck, that's what I got.
But that's what it is. But the thing is that sometimes
what I enjoy doing.
They need a gay comic.
Yeah.
And I'm filling that box. Also, it's like, oh yeah, because it's also been so easy being gay my whole life that now comedy is just making it even easier for me. It's like, just let me have this.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't get a lot. It's like, let me have this.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's so frustrating, is people get so mad about that stuff, and it's literally like, what do you think I'm doing? It's like, do you think that I'm like taking the LGBTQ spot and then you're, as a straight guy, not able to work? It's like, that spot's not for you.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you mad?
There's enough room for everybody.
Absolutely.
Like,
And when I do those spots, I mean, I've done festivals, and when I see back like what got used in terms of like radio or TV or whatever it was, you know, I will spend let's say I did like a 10-minute set, and I talked about Mexico, and then I talked about Starbucks, and then I did 1 minute on my boyfriend. None of that Mexico or Starbucks stuff would make it to air, and it would just be the stuff about the boyfriend. But to be honest with you, I don't care.
Yeah, because that helps the message too.
Yeah,
like,
I don't care. I'm like, okay, and then I have more material that I can use later. Like, I really don't care.
As long as the person's not like patronizing you, where they put you on just because you're gay, and then they're like, oh, that was flaming hot or something. Yeah. You know, like.
Oh, I've
just being
definitely
a dick
had
about
that.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I've definitely had.
I guess if they're saying it from a nice place, I
don't
know. Like, that's what I was gonna say. For me, I've never had an issue with homophobia partially because I have good parents who just taught us to not be pieces of shit and just be open and judge people on their character. But also, I think I was lucky to make friends in high school that were gay and just like realize there was nothing to be afraid of, and they're not all trying to fuck you like you were talking about in your set last night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I'm just kind of a sensitive person, and I like that a lot of gay guys have a kind of a feminine vibe. I've always gotten along with women better because they want to talk about their feelings and you know, I'm artistic. I just always kind of, I don't know. I don't know why I went.
You're a special boy, Oliver.
Well, I don't know. I really
sweet.
like to try to propagate the fact that there's decent white guys out there that aren't fucking homophobic or racist and shit like that. And I hate that that's now a stereotype on us.
Yeah.
Not to start getting
Yeah.
white privilege-y and complaining. I know I don't have any right to complain about anything because I've
Yeah.
got good parents and you know,
Yeah.
white skin and shit. But
Well, I will say that I don't necessarily think that this is. I think this is a society thing. I don't think this falls on any one person specifically, but I think that there's like a handful of straight men in my life that I know that don't make me feel like a gay person.
okay.
It's so weird.
Am I one of those people, hopefully? I don't know. I'm not. I mean, we're talking about the fact that you're gay, but that's mainly because
like sort of. I mean, it's just like sort of.
I see what you're saying. Someone who just like doesn't even see that at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not even. Well, it's not that they. I mean that's just
I don't know.
that's just ignorant. But I mean like, but like what I mean is just sort of like, you know.
I see you, Kyle.
No, it's sort of like. It's like I'm just talking to them like I'm talking to like one of my girlfriends.
Okay.
Where I'm just kind of like, oh, like this is not about that. Like
Yeah.
this, we're literally just friends. Like we're just talking.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, sorry, I'm referring to comedians. I'm referring to like in like the comedy world.
okay. I see what
So
you're
like
saying.
it's like other comics always make me feel like a gay person. And I don't necessarily think, for sure they're not doing that on purpose. I'm not calling anybody out. But I would say maybe just like a couple of them have not that I know very well, like Nigel Grinstead. He has 2 trans sisters. So I feel like maybe that's why. Where for him, it's just sort of like he speaks to you on that same level where it's just like, oh, like, I really don't know how to articulate it.
No, I know what you're saying. He's like desensitized to any of
Yeah.
that, so it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't phase him or whatever.
And then
I feel like I'm like that too, though. From a non-comedy way. Like when I'm writing to you, I'm like, hey, dude. Like I'm not gonna not call you dude because you're gay. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's people that would do that though.
Sure.
They'd be like, oh, dude is like a dude word. Don't take dude from us.
Yeah,
Like I don't know.
probably.
I don't give a fuck if you're gay. You know what I mean? Like
sure. But
it's interesting podcasting wise to ask you questions about
Yeah.
what it's like being gay in comedy for
Yeah.
sure. But as far as what you do in the bedroom, I could care fucking less.
It's not fun. Being gay in comedy is just very. If you're a gay woman, it's a lot. You're more likely to succeed. Comedy is a boys' club. It always has been. It always will be. I hope not, but it
Oh, and
probably
guys,
will be.
straight guys are way more threatened by gay dudes than they are by lesbians,
Exactly.
for sure.
I mean, you can name Wanda Sykes, Ellen DeGeneres, Tig Notaro, just off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then on that same level of fame, you can't name a single gay male.
Yeah, well, I
Of
talked to you about
stand-up.
this before. I hopefully realize, and I hope this is part of what keeps you going, is like, think about how many people you might be fucking inspiring, gay men, to just be like, hey, man, he did it. I'm going to get out there, you know?
Well, that's the
like
thing,
5
though, is
years from
that-
now, you might be, you know,
But gay men don't support other gay men. That's a big
Really?
issue. Oh yeah, it's a
they're like
it's a-
catty kind of.
Yeah, it's more of a self-loathing thing, I think, where it's sort of like they see something in me that they hate in themselves, and they don't want to support that.
Weird.
But that's really more of a society thing. And also, all gay men, whether they work in the entertainment industry or not, they all think they're celebrities. All gay men think that they're stars. And
I'm
you're literally-
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and when I'm up there doing my thing, they're like, "Who does she think she is?"
Okay, so it's an instant competition.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I get that. That kind of makes sense, but that's got to suck.
Yeah, they think it's like like a Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks situation. It's like, honey, you're not even a model. Like, get out of here.
Whereas, like you mentioned, white chicks love you.
yeah,
White chicks love gay guys. That's just a
Yeah.
fucking fact.
yeah. Well,
You
sort
know
of.
how many girls I heard in high school say, I wish I had a gay friend? That was like the number one thing I heard from white girls.
Will and Grace was very popular.
That's true, yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know. I a lot of my girlfriends are white, so like that makes sense. But like,
I just remember you saying that in your set, like
true.
calling out to the white girls.
But
Can you, just for the microphone, can you give us a bitch?
Oh yeah, no bitch.
I just love how in your set you just fucking drop it down.
Yeah, it's like bitch. No, but the thing is what I think a lot of straight men have a hard time understanding is like I have a lot of I have an audience. I have people that come out to see me, whether they're LGBTQ or whatever, or if they're just fans of comedy, or a lot of them are women.
Yeah.
And I find that like straight guys will show up to the fucking shows and they'll be so confused and they'll be like, oh, like, I don't like this. And it's like, yeah, well, do you think your fucking girlfriend...
Yeah, they're like, I didn't pay for this. Yeah.
Yeah, you're dragging your girlfriend to fucking shit all the time that she doesn't like. And it's like, you're letting... And then this is for her and she's enjoying it.
Well, not only that, but when you go to a comedy show, I don't know how people don't know that you're probably always going to not enjoy one or two acts for whatever reason, even if it's not racially or sexually motivated.
Sure.
Just sometimes you're like, oh, that guy's not my style. It was too deadpan or it was too zany or whatever the fuck, you know?
But that's the whole straight guy entitlement where it's like, but it's not for me. Like, what the everything is for me.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah.
I love going to a comedy show and seeing like a smorgasbord of different, like,
totally
different acts, because that to me is like you're getting the most for your dollar.
Yeah.
You're getting a bunch of different fucking styles. I don't want to see the same shit over and over. Then I get fucking bored and I start yawning halfway through the show.
Well, I've never cared for the major stand-up comedians, like people like Louis
So
C.K.
who's your fucking, your big ones? Like, what's your top 5 or whatever, if you're talking like inspiration / whatever, you know?
They're mostly women. I think that
like big names. I'm talking like
Wendy Liebman. I love her style.
I've never heard of her, but that doesn't mean she's not big because I don't know everybody.
Well, she kind of like really did the misdirection thing.
Okay,
that was kind of her style, and I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Heidi Foss, who's a Canadian.
Okay, that name I've heard.
Yeah, she's like my absolute favorite, one of my biggest influences. Amy Schumer, like 7 years ago.
Yeah, people started shitting on her pretty hard. They said she was stealing jokes back in the day, and then I remember she kind of had a fall from grace for a while, where people were kind of.
Is a woman in comedy. If you are a woman in comedy and you start to become famous, people are like, "We need to take this bitch down."
Yeah, she always made me laugh. I don't know.
I love her.
The joke theft thing was the only time where I was like, "Oh, if that's true, then that sucks." But I don't fucking know if it's true. Like, just internet garbage, maybe, you know.
Honestly, like, I believe it is parallel thinking. I think that she also has to turn out so much material.
Well, there's a name for it too. What do they call it? Kleptomnesia or something like that. There's a name for like when you subconsciously steal something and you're not aware you're doing it because it was fucking something you heard from some set like 5 years ago. And you know, and it's very easy to come up on the same premise as someone else. Like that happens all the fucking time. You know?
I think that she is a smart person, and I don't think that she's so dumb that she would fully go out and do a special doing someone else's fucking joke. I genuinely just don't think that.
Her show was funny too. Her sketch comedy show was really good.
The
only thing I didn't enjoy was I didn't think Trainwreck was that good. It wasn't terrible. It was very watchable, but it wasn't like for me. I think it was a Judd Apatow thing too, and I'm usually a big fan of his. But I don't know. It wasn't. I really liked her old stand-up. She had a special called Mostly Sex Stuff. I loved it. I like her early stand-up. But that's just my preference. She had a new special where she was pregnant. I thought that was really funny. Okay. But I still like her old stuff because it was a bit darker. It was a bit edgier, and like she had a lot of like little misdirections and stuff. And that's kind of my thing, and I like that. But I mean, she's still obviously so funny, and like I really love her. I really love Margaret Cho, Kathy Griffin. I know everybody hates her, but I don't hate Kathy
I like
Griffin.
her stories.
And she was an actress too. She was on news radio back in the day with Joe Rogan and shit.
Was she?
Was she not?
I don't.
Radio. Griffin. I thought she was on.
She was on
radio
Suddenly
in the later seasons.
No, she was on Suddenly Susan.
Okay, can you check that? You got Google? I'm just curious. Sorry, it's part of your job, Dad. No, I'm just curious if you can. I could have sworn Kathy Griffin was on news radio. Anyway, it's not that important. But shit, man, I don't know. I feel like we've been going at it for a while here.
No, I'm just hang on a second. I'm just checking my message. No, but Kathy Griffin, I really like to because she has stories, so I just kind of will put it on and like it'll be background noise.
Okay.
But I like her and Margaret Cho, and I really like Jim Gaffigan's like.
He's funny.
I really like how he makes every word count. I think he's a very strong writer. Anyway, just off the top of my head, those
for
are
sure.
like my faves.
I was trying to think of ones that I was wondering. Well, you probably know all the ones that I'm into too, but it's a lot of musical stuff that I like. I used to love Flight of the Conchords, and Bo Burnham I really like. You know Bo Burnham? Oh man, his special's amazing. I thought he's just really sensitive, deep guy, and he's fucking amazing musician. And he just apparently directed a movie which got all these fucking awards too. It's called.
I loved that movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it's fucking amazing. And
it's really good.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
Really well done. He is a very talented person.
Yeah.
And he is a He.
Have you seen his special on Netflix though?
I saw What, and then I saw the
That's
other one.
What I liked a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was very funny.
Yeah.
I thought it was very different, and
The whole left side, right side of the brain, I thought was pretty creative. He had the lighting changes and all that.
Yeah, he's
It was quite the production.
Well, that's just it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work went into it. He
Definitely did a lot of musical theater, I guarantee. I'm guessing, but I don't know.
Probably.
It just seemed like he had that. It was more of a stage show. Like every second was planned out. I felt like, I don't know. He has all these songs lined up and.
Yeah, he really talented person, absolutely. But yeah. Anyway, those are.
Do you like Dimitri Martin?
I like that he does something different where he does like the visual art aspect of it.
He does like Mensa comedy almost. It's all like wordplay stuff, and it's all.
I'm not very familiar with his work though, to be honest with you.
Check it out. Like he usually plays guitar in the background, which I respect because he's just doing these kind of open chords, ambient music. It's not like it's a song, and he kind of just speaks over it. Sometimes he uses slides. He'll do like illustrations. He's
Sure.
but you watch his stuff and you go, okay, this guy's really clever. Was she on it? Shit. I thought you were just going to look it up and tell me. I can't find it.
No, I doubt it. She
No.
was on Suddenly Susan.
Yeah, that's here
I know
actually.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, who the fuck am I thinking of then? I could have sworn she was on News Already. Anyways. Okay. Well, fuck, man. I don't know. How long have we been going at this? I don't care. Like, I'm happy to keep talking. I just want to...
75.
So, oh shit, we're like over an hour then. Yeah, that's cool, man. If you gotta go, if not, I'm happy to keep
No,
going.
I'm good for a little bit longer. I just have to. I'm just gonna let. Yeah. No, we're good.
I was gonna ask you if you've ever done any acting.
Yeah.
Only because I recently did a thing that I was gonna tell you about, but go ahead because I'm curious.
Well, I got an acting agent pretty quickly, and when she signed me, she was like, "Yeah, so I don't really like bring in a lot of people that don't have a lot of experience. It's just that you have like a really creepy, intense, like murdery look, and like that's really marketable right now."
That's what you want to hear.
And I was like, "Oh my god, thank you!" And then I was
Like a murderer would say.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like my headshots are like kind of creepy. And
Oh, you mean the ones where you've got like the kind of eyeliner thing going on? I
Yeah.
thought it looked smoldering. It was very
Yeah.
intense in a good way.
Yeah, I liked it, but like, I've always wanted to play a villain, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, embrace it, fuck.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then whenever I went for like auditions and stuff like that, I booked a commercial, and I was like a spokesperson for the commercial, because I write comedy, they like asked me to come in as a writer just to sort of fix shit. And oh my god, the original script was so offensive.
Oh,
It
Jesus.
was so problematic, and I was like, we can't put this on.
What was so bad about it?
Oh my god, like it was like the women like making like blowjob gestures to like
God.
different people, and
Just like the lowest common denominator.
people being racist. And they said to me, they were like, we want to cross the line and then move the line and then cross it again. I'm like, who the
Oh my
fuck are you?
God.
Like Doug Stanhope? Like this is a
Yeah.
commercial. Like what are you talking
That's
about?
fucked.
And then we made a lot of changes, and then it ended up being like really fun and
It was
good and stuff
actually
like that.
good?
But
Okay.
the original scripts were like really problematic.
Damn, good thing you guys worked on it then.
Yeah.
Jeez, imagine that went to air.
Yeah, it was exhausting. I mean, yeah, it was like we shot the whole. We did a bunch of commercials, and we shot it in like 2 days, and each day was like anywhere from 12 to 14 hours days, and it was exhausting.
Yeah, it's usually long. That's the one thing I haven't done a lot. Like I did an basic extra work a couple years ago for CBC at the airport overnight, like pretending to be a passenger in line and shit like that.
Yeah.
And they pay like fucking minimum wage. It's not that great, but there's tons of downtime where you can like write jokes or do whatever the fuck you want. And
Sure.
I just wanted to see how, behind the curtain, like we said before, kind of just how the film industry works or whatever. So it was good for that. But a couple weeks ago, I guess maybe a month ago now, I followed Smythe Casting a while back on Facebook, and they had something they put up on Facebook saying like, we need someone who can play guitar as an extra like tomorrow. And I ended up getting the gig, and it was pretty fucking sweet because I was considered a special skills extra.
Great.
I got like upgraded in pay, so it was actually worth my time.
Wow.
We had the same thing, like 11-hour day, and the next day was 10 hours, I think, but
Sure.
I made like $700 or whatever.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and I'm like standing right behind the two stars of the movie playing guitar, jamming out. And
Love it.
It's like we weren't really plugged in or anything, but we were faking the chords and everything. It was a good time.
I once got fired from a commercial.
Oh shit.
I was
that
like,
sounds like a good story.
Yeah, it was in Ottawa. It was me and Jessica Jeff McKay.
I don't know.
Okay, well, Jeff.
He's a comic, or
Yeah, he's a comic. And he got me the gig, and then when I got brought in, they had to age me to make me look like older because I was going to play a boss.
they put like gray in your hair and stuff.
I don't remember if they put gray in my hair, but they definitely like put like wrinkles and shit in my
Put you in a
eyes and
sweater
stuff.
vest.
I just looked like a really tired 19-year-old. Like it was like I was like, okay. And my job was to come in and to be like a condescending boss. Like
Sounds fun.
yeah,
kind of.
and I was like, okay. And then they were like, but because you're a comedian, can you guys like do some improv and make it funny?
Yeah.
But the problem was that there was this corporate entity that was like checking everything that we said and literally just sucking all of the art out of it and just not making it funny. Like at one point I went up and let's say his name was Bob, and I went up and I was sort of like, I was like, hi, Bob. And then he would be like, actually, my name is Daniel. And I'll be like, okay, John, like something like that, where I'm obviously a terrible boss and I'm not paying attention. And then she was like, okay, you guys, that's really offensive to people named John. And I was like, bitch, what are you doing here?
Is that just an example, or is that something she actually said?
No, that's actually something she said.
Oh my God.
And I was like, honey,
what name's gonna fucking work then?
I know. I was like, no, what the fuck can we do? I'm like, you brought in a fucking comedian. I'm making like literally like the most PC, CBC clean jokes here. And you're telling me that it's too offensive. It's like, who is your key demo?
Good Lord.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Sounds like a nightmare.
And then anyway, it was not funny. And
Did you
she
walk,
kept
or
making
did you
it
get
worse.
actually fired?
No, the director actually came up to me and oh my God, I remember he was so hesitant and he was afraid to tell me. And because I was like, I don't want this to see the light of day. Like, I'm embarrassed by this. And he goes, hey, I just don't really think that this is, working out. And I could tell he was nervous to tell me. And he was like, so I think that we're probably just going to cut this segment. And I was like, no problem. And I was like, I'm going to send you my invoice and you'll be paying me in full for this day. But
Yeah, 100%.
and then he was like, yeah, no problem. And that was it.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got paid.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Not much, but yeah. Fucking Jeff. No.
I only had, I think, one more question, which was because I don't know if people know this, but you, correct me if I'm wrong, but you pretty much just moved to Toronto like a year ago or something?
2 years ago.
2 years. Okay, well, my question was more about like what would be your advice, A, to comics who haven't done it yet that are looking to get into it?
Looking to move to Toronto?
No, looking to just do comedy. That's like part A of the question. Part B would be comics that are doing local stuff, but they're thinking about taking the next step. What would you, so if you can, I don't know, maybe that's too much question for you, but I think you got this.
First of all, my advice to the people that are thinking about getting into it, don't. There's my advice. This business eats
people alive.
It does.
Yeah.
This business, for me, like, it's just, it was so funny. Pat Birchter had this super funny joke, and he's like, I have to do this because there's a 14-year gap in my resume. He's like, I'm stuck doing this. And it's just really fun. And I was like, that's so funny.
Though, yeah.
But like, stand-up comedy, I think people are attracted to, oh, that looks fun. And they don't
spice up their life a little.
Yeah. They don't understand that it is an art form and it's self-expression. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work. And just like acting, just like training to be an Olympic athlete, it takes so much practice and so much work. And I think that a lot of people see stand-up comedians and think like, because we make it look easy, that it is easy.
On the flip side of that coin, though, and I can say, if you're someone who doesn't do comedy a lot and you do try it and you do really well without any experience, those same guys can sometimes be huge dicks to you because they're like, oh, this guy fucking didn't earn it. And that's part of what made me take a step back. I was like, oh, man, there's a lot of like people who just get offended about everything. And I wanted to just do this for fun. But I understand what you're saying, I think, with acting as well, is if you're just seen as someone that's dabbling, you're just putting your feet in the water. Some people find that kind of annoying because you're not really fully respecting the craft. But if you harsh on those people too much, you might be shutting down someone that could have gone on to be really fitted well for this. And that's what I always think of is like, don't go too fucking hard on these people because, hey, they're enthusiastic. Don't crush that.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people do.
You know, and I would.
Oh, no, I know you
like,
wouldn't.
I would never.
You've been nothing but nice to me in green rooms and shit, but I'm saying I've definitely met people that are fucking like that.
I just think like, if somebody wants to do stand-up comedy, do stand-up comedy. I don't give a shit. And people get mad when other people call
That's the best.
When people call themselves comedians, they're like, oh, you call yourself a fucking comedian? It's like, honey, I don't. If you want to call yourself a comedian, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, call yourself a comedian. That's fine. I might not necessarily
Agree
think
or-
of that
yeah.
person as a comedian, but if you want to call
If
yourself,
it helps them fucking,
Yeah,
you know,
I
keep
don't-
going.
I don't care. It's
There's
like, do
so
what
much
you want.
bullshit on like Facebook groups and like these hierarchies and people that, like all that you got to earn it shit. Like that's true. You do got to earn it. There's a reality in what you're saying. But
Yeah.
when people use it in like a fucking negative way where
Yeah.
they're shutting down potential talented people
Yeah.
and making them think that it's this shitty, scary like cauldron of shit that you're going to jump into, which you kind of just said it was. It's
actually, that brings me to my next point.
Nice
Thank
segue.
you. That's a nice little
a
pivot.
giant cauldron of shit. Okay.
Yeah,
what's
that'll make for a nice soft landing. The industry and the diva-ness and the toxicness and like the bullshit and the drama, it's all true.
Mm-hmm.
I have dealt with it firsthand. I've been assaulted
And it's
twice.
unavoidable,
Yep.
essentially.
I've been attacked at shows. I've heard the worst shit coming out of more veteran comics about me to my face, to your face.
Yeah.
I have dealt with so much drama and so much bullshit, so much homophobia, and a lot of it is just people are mad of where they're at
This
versus
happens
where
in
I'm at.
not just comedy, fucking everything, dude.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk too much shit because who knows who will listen, but I work at the hospital and I generally just do overnight and the weekend, and I fucking choose that. People are like, oh, you like overnight? I'm like, yeah, because there's like 3 people here, and I don't have to deal with the fucking lifers that work Monday to Friday who hate their fucking life, so they're all miserable fucks, and like I leave there with like this toxic energy in me where I'm like, what the fuck did they do to me?
Exactly.
Like, and they're all petty
chew
little
you up
fucking
and
grade
spit you
7
out.
gossip, and everyone's whispering, talking shit about each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? We're working at a hospital. I thought we weren't going to deal with this here, but
If you want to do this, if this is something that you want to get into, it's like you got to be prepared for it.
you got to get some armor.
But you know, it only really comes out whenever you are perceived as a threat.
Yeah, when you're doing well, I guess
Yeah.
you should. Yeah.
When I
that's
started,
a
I
valid
noticed
point.
that immediately.
Yeah.
Little things. When I was moving up in Ottawa, I would lose friendships with people, and then I would hear things that people would say about me, like, "Oh, maybe I should come out so I can get stage time." And you're like, "Oh, is that how it works? Cool."
Okay.
I've heard that a couple times. I've heard. I've heard it all, and I noticed that when I was starting, and then when I would move past people, whatever that means, like I just mean like going from like opener to a middle, and then that some of my friends would still be openers, and they'd be like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Yeah. It's
I
just
would
petty
notice
jealousy.
I would notice little things like that,
Yeah.
and then when I moved to Toronto, that is oh my God, where do I?
Well,
even-
yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah. So let's say you've told people not to get into it if they're not into it, but let's say they're into it. They've been doing a year or whatever locally
If you
in their
believe,
town.
if this is if this is how you express yourself, and you genuinely believe that you're the real deal,
Yeah.
then you have to do it.
So you would say step it up and move to the bigger city kind of thing, and you have to, right? Essentially.
I think it's better to start in Ottawa, in my opinion. Ottawa is one of the best cities for comedy. They have 2 professional clubs with professional stage time. You can work out so much material. And
Well,
then,
that's interesting you say that because on that movie set, I was working with this chick named Beverly Mitchell. She was on Seventh Heaven and when she was a kid, I guess. But she's a YouTube influencer or whatever the fuck. But she said that too, to be the biggest fish in a small pond before trying to be a very small fish in a very big pond and like move to LA or whatever.
Yeah.
Shout out to Beverly Mitchell if she's listening, which she isn't. But
Hey, girl.
hey, maybe she'll come on one day. Who knows if this thing fucking goes viral.
Yeah. Well, when I moved to Toronto, it was, I mean, fair enough, but like it was very much like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Who the fuck do you think you are showing up here taking my gigs?
Yeah.
It wasn't as explicit as that, but that was basically the general vibe.
So weird.
I got signed to Yuck Yucks very quickly.
Yeah.
And that people
And that's
were
the thing,
very-
right? Are you kind of like locked in or something? I heard if you
No. No, you can leave whenever you want.
No, I mean in the sense. Well, I had heard that if you were a Yuck Yucks comic, they get you gigs all over, but you have to only do the Yuck Yucks clubs. You have to just do their clubs.
They get you gigs all over.
Sorry, at clubs across the country for Yuck Yuck, but you're not allowed to do like Absolute, say, if you're...
Yeah, you can't do Absolute Comedy.
Only big competitors, I guess, then?
Well, and you also can't perform at, there's this little comedy club. It's a small little thing. It's in Toronto.
But like alt rooms and shit you can do? Like...
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Who would know, I guess.
In Toronto, yeah, you can do all the open mics and stuff like that. That's
Okay.
fine.
That's
I don't think you can do that in Ottawa, though. If you work for Absolute Comedy, I don't think you can do open mics.
I would never.
Yeah.
Not that I've been offered, but I don't know.
Yeah. It's silly. But
Well, I don't know. I'm not even going to get into it. But
I mean, but anyway, if you want to move to Toronto and if you want to do stand-up comedy, I think that if you want to do stand-up comedy, you either have to be in Vancouver or you have to be in Toronto, and preferably Toronto. Toronto is one of the best cities for...
Vancouver's more acting, I think. You've got a better...
I wouldn't
scene out
honestly.
there. That's what I've heard.
I wouldn't know, but there's so many great comics that are out in Vancouver right now, and so they're doing so great as well. But I think that you should come up in a place like Ottawa, get really good, and then move down to Toronto, because then you'll get even better. But the problem that
do it incrementally though.
Yeah, but the thing is that like. I know that a lot of people are very resentful toward me just because I did get a lot of work and I moved up very quickly.
Yeah, you're killing it.
And people...
Shout out to Kyle, who's right here, for getting a Canadian Comedy Award. For what is it, Breakout Artist of the Year?
That bowling trophy. Yeah.
Come on, that's fucking killer, man. I saw that. I was super happy for you.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Yeah, I actually... Oh, fun. Okay, let me tell you a story about that.
I saw your speech too, actually.
Yeah, so I know it was so long. I'm sorry.
No, it
but
was
like
good.
not sorry.
It was good.
No, but funny story about that. I was certain that Nigel Grinstead won. And when I got there,
so you were legit shocked.
I was wearing I got all dressed up. I was wearing like a tie, and me and my friend Natalie Norman, we were both nominated. But the three other nominees, it was Adrian Fish and Jarrett and Nigel. They didn't go to the ceremony. And I got there and I was like, I just in my head I was like, well, Nigel obviously won.
Yeah.
And
I've heard of him for sure. Yeah.
Oh, Nigel's one of the best. I love Nigel. And he's not there. And he wasn't present. And there I am at this fucking award. Exactly. And I'm wearing my fucking suit. And I was like, I actually showed up to this shit and he's going to fucking win. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I feel like such a loser. And then whenever they did the category, it was the first one. They were like breakout artists. They were like, I'm like, here we go. And they were like, Kyle Brownrigg. I was like, oh. And then I was like, never mind, Nigel, love you, TTYL. And I just went up and I grabbed the award.
And then it looks like you thought you were going to win because you're so dressed up.
Yeah, I was genuinely shocked. I really thought that Nigel was going to win.
Nice.
And I was mad.
It's better that way. I think it's more exciting for you if you really didn't expect it though. It must have been
awards are silly because awards are you have to campaign for awards. You have to get people to vote for you.
Yeah.
It's like that with the Grammys. It's like that with the Oscars.
Well, and it's like the Sirius XM comedy competition.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right? You got to just get people
the
to
Sirius
click.
XM thing, that's just free marketing.
Yeah.
But
it's getting people to vote and click the link, right? Yeah. Because I did that for you and a couple other comics.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But that's just it though. At award shows, you really can't take them that seriously. Yeah. If anybody's pissed off that they lost, or if anybody's pissed off that I won, it's like, honey. It doesn't. It's just an award. Yeah. It doesn't mean anything.
I feel the same way about the competitions locally. It's
well, did you see my category? It was Jared Campbell, Adrian, Natalie, Nigel. They're all amazing comics. Yeah. It's literally one of us had to win. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You were all serious contenders.
Yeah.
It was
and I got
which
people
Avenger
to vote for
is
me.
the best or something. Sorry, I'm bringing it back to the nerd shit.
No, it's you gotta work for that shit. You have to ask people to vote for you. You gotta play the game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to play the game, and that's fine, honey, because I'll play it. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
That's a good attitude. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
No,
care.
you seem like you got a good head on your shoulders to be in this industry, as much as you talk about it being a cesspool of depravity or whatever. But
well, that's why you surround yourself with
support
people that you love. I know who my friends are.
Well, and I can already tell you have good parents because I saw them in Montreal, waiting to congratulate you, and I noticed that right away.
Yeah, my parents are.
So reminded me of my parents. That's why I was like,
yeah, no, they're.
If
they're
I ever
so
get
great.
to do a showcase out there, they'll be the same fucking way.
Sure.
They've come to a bunch of my
great.
shows this year where there was
that's
they were the only fucking people at Bureaucracy one time. There was three. There's three tables there. It's a great spot for just chilling with comics and trying out new shit. But it's weird when it was just your parents, or every comic was referencing my parents.
Oh my God.
I don't know. You guys had a good time though.
Oh, sure.
So she was on News Radio? Oh. Who's that? Oh, it's someone who looks like Kathy Griffin. Not to stereotype all gingers. Vicky Lewis. Okay. Sorry, Vicky Lewis and Kathy Griffin, who also aren't listening. Okay, cool, man. Well, I think we're like almost 2 hours here. We should probably wrap it up.
Yeah.
I feel like the kids and all them are probably still waiting outside. So.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because I told them, like, go to the park with the dogs and the kids. I wanted it to be quiet here, but I got to fucking call it in at some point.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, man. And for the first
having
episode,
me.
I couldn't have asked for a more awesome guest. I think I'm going to make it a thing that at the end of every podcast, we do a little high five across the table. Boom.
All right.
And I got your little digital download card.
Yeah.
I'm also going to try to make it a thing that everybody brings something that goes up on the wall. So I'm going to
love that.
download it, and then you're going to be up there.
Great.
As small as that is, I guess, in this mosaic of...
I want to be right next to Conway
brighter
Twitty.
colors. Yeah, I'll put you next to Conway. That's a perfect spot. All right, fucking A, man. Until next time.
Thank you for having this. It was fun. Thanks.
Peace.
Bye.
Oh, I gotta get up. Sorry, my back's fucking killing me. Oh, these chairs aren't bad though.